Skirt, skirt. Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leave on a levy, no sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit on my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboy Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's stream. We have what should be a good Monday Night Football game. We've got the Indianapolis Colts and we've got the Baltimore Ravens. This is the second time already this year that we've had the Ravens on Monday Night Football. They were on week 1 as well against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Do you like having your team play on Monday Night Football like this in primetime?
Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday. I actually think I prefer having my team play on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. I kind of feel the same. It's weird, right?
Yeah, it's like there's so much unnecessary extra buildup to the game. I want to get it out of the way. I don't want to have to sit and think about it and stress about it for another day. That's the way that I feel.
I totally agree. And it's actually funny. The Broncos this year have no primetime games. So
wow.
I wish, I guess.
Yeah. So you got what you wished for. So yeah. Lines in the game. I'm getting some compliments on my shirt. Thanks, guys.
What about my shirt?
Pink. I got the pink stripes, little pocket, the offset stripes.
Is that the lucky T-shirt for the game tonight, or what?
It's either gonna be the lucky T-shirt or the unlucky T-shirt. Just everything that happens is only because of the shirt that I'm wearing.
Yeah. I
think that's about it. Under or over, we're gonna get to that in a second. So.
Ooh, 7.5.
Yeah, this is moved.
Up.
This was a 7, maybe. I think it opened at like at 6.5. But it is climbing slowly but surely in the Ravens' direction and has crossed that key number of 7. So Baltimore at home, favored by 7.5. Total sitting at 46.5. So the model. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as far as that line move, I remember I was talking to John Murray about it over at Superbook, and he said, it does take a lot for us to move a number off of 7 to 7.5 or 3 to 3.5, or 3 to 2.5. So must have been getting some significant late money in on the Ravens.
Yeah, I don't know that it's super late because I think it has been sitting at 7.5 for a day or two. Like I think it was here yesterday.
I saw 7 this morning, but I don't know about PointsBet.
Okay, here, let me pull up Vegas Insider real quick. Look at the line move.
Yeah, I thought it was 7 until maybe yesterday.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah. This was 7 until about noon Mountain today. And then it moved to 7.5.
That's literally the last time I looked at it too. So
yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So model has this game as about a 24.5 to 21.9 win for Baltimore. So likes the Ravens by 2.5 to 3 points. And the total, it has it at like 46.46. So just like
cool face.
Thank you, T Cherry, for the sub. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Cool face. 7 months. It's crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, so the model's been hot this week. It's been a rough week official picks wise, to say the least. But the model, despite all that, is actually sitting at 20-10 on the week, just picking sides and totals with closing line numbers. So that in and of itself makes Colts feel like the better pick, especially now that it's at 7.5 as opposed to a 7 or a 6.5. That being said, and I try my best to be an unbiased Ravens fan, I think the Ravens match up really well against the Colts. I think from a stylistic perspective, I think that Baltimore is going to have a lot of success in this game. So I'm actually leaning against what the model says. 7.5 makes me feel a little bit more uncomfortable. But
Nick, is that success more on the offensive side or the defensive side?
I think it's on the defensive side for the Ravens.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason for that is the Ravens have an effective, I guess, bend but don't break run defense. A good pass rush. Not a great pass rush, but a good enough pass rush. And somebody's having problems. Can't click play. If you're having issues, you can try lowering the stream quality. I know that people have been having issues with that since I upped the stream quality that we're outputting. But the way that the Ravens, I mean, so it's a bend but don't break run defense, and a pass defense that's not allowing a whole lot of big plays. But the big plays are kind of how teams are scoring against Baltimore. So not a lot of them, but enough that's the way that you can be effective moving the ball against them.
Yeah, we'll put it this way. If the Ravens play like they did against the Broncos, and I'll say specifically the first half because, yeah, they did play even better in the second half, but that's because Drew Lock was out there. But if they play like they did last week, Ravens cover this number. No doubt. Like, I'm pretty confident in that. But question is, right, does that carry over to this game? And it's at home. Kind of a good spot, I would say, for the Ravens. But that 7.5, it changes up my thinking just a tad. It really does.
Yeah, I agree. So we saw, I think, the way that the Ravens played against the Broncos last week, I think it's going to be similar to how they play against the Colts this week. We saw with Teddy Bridgewater in on offense for Denver. Denver had some success on the ground, and they had some success moving the ball through the air. Not a ton of success, but a couple intermediate passes to Sutton and Patrick. I think Noah Fant had a big catch in the first half. And then some nice runs from Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon.
Well, Nick, I was actually going to say, I think they had the most success running the ball. They just got into a position where they were down, so they abandoned the run game.
Yeah, exactly. And then with Lock in, they could key in a little bit more on the running game, just knowing that Drew Lock was bad. It doesn't take a whole lot. You don't have to scheme. You don't have to drop 8 to cover against Drew Lock.
Yeah, and at that point, I think Broncos were down 20-7, and Shermer just completely abandoned the run game. He acted like we were down by 4 touchdowns, or he thought there was 12 minutes left in the game. So that was a little frustrating, but it worked out well. I mean, if it gets into that position tonight against the Ravens, if the Ravens get a lead in this one, you're feeling pretty good because they're at home. Also, Nick, another thing too, I looked this up. Ravens do a really good job of controlling the clock. They haven't done it thus far this year, but it was basically because they were behind or just in games, like they were very tight, close games. But we saw it last year. If they're up, they can run 10 straight times and move the ball pretty easily.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason that hasn't been as pronounced this year is that the Ravens have had some more big plays in the passing game. And those are good for putting up points, but they are, technically speaking, bad for controlling the clock, just because if you score really quickly, you don't have the ball for a long time. That's why, for example, the Chiefs rank really poorly, or at least last year ranked extremely poorly in time of possession, just because they scored so fast.
Yeah, and I think the thing with time of possession is I almost don't even look at it like from an average perspective on the season. You almost have to dive deeper into each game and to see what happened. Were they up? Were they down? Were there big plays? Because then it can be a little misleading. I hope you agree there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's extremely important and extremely misleading at the same time. There's a lot of context involved, I guess is what we're trying to say.
Totally. Yeah, it's one of those stats where I don't think you can just look at it and say, oh, they have a really good time of possession, and then you make a bet off of that, right? It's not really handicapable type of metrics standalone. And thanks, Jaws.
Yeah, we got Jaws and we got Josh. Thank both of you for the follows. Appreciate those very much.
I remember last year, and of course you do as a Ravens fan, there were a few games where I had the Ravens with the points, and they just kept scoring, and they were up. And I'm like, this is great. They just run the ball down people's throats. This is awesome.
Yeah, and the Colts, I don't think, are a team that's very well equipped to come from behind. So Carson Wentz is not 100%. Carson Wentz, at his best, has in the past looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think that what we're getting out of Carson Wentz right now is not that. I think Carson Wentz is very firmly either at the bottom end of the middle tier of quarterbacks, like in that 22 to 20 range, I would say. If we're looking at a quarterback ranking. And the receiving options for the Colts are also not so impressive, I would say. Michael Pittman is great, but he's going to get the Marlon Humphrey treatment today. Number one receivers have not had a lot of success against Humphrey this year. And aside from that, who's it going to be? I mean, it's going to be Pascal in the slot. But are they going to score by throwing it to Pascal? No.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't score by throwing 5-yard passes to your slot receiver all day.
Yeah, and there's a comment here about a look-ahead spot, and here's my thoughts on that. This is a home game, primetime game against a decent team. I think if it were a team like the Texans, maybe I could see that from a look-ahead spot perspective if they were playing, next week they have the Chargers. But I also think that if it was a divisional matchup, maybe I would buy that narrative, but I just don't think in this scenario they're not really overlooking the Colts, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think in the NFL, it's not. I think the whole look ahead thing isn't as big of a deal, especially early in the season, with a team fighting for a playoff berth.
That's why I said the Texans. I was trying to think of the one.
Yeah,
the one that would, But hey, then again, Ravens barely beat the Lions, so.
Yeah, that's true. So the Ravens have been playing a little bit up and down to the level of their competition. Aside from last week against Denver, they played a close game against Vegas. They played a close game against Kansas City. They played a close game against Detroit. I mean, and that's one of the top teams a couple of the top teams in the league, and one of the worst teams in the league. And they were one possession games all around. So all of that said, what are our leans for this game? So I was saying that I like the Ravens, but I do think that kind of taking what the model says into account and taking the fact that this is now at 7.5, I do think that I still lean Colts to cover the spread.
I'm going to go with the Colts too as well. I think the 7.5 definitely made my decision here. And the Colts are a team that if they can get a lead in this one, they are in a position where they could coast a little bit. But of course, Lamar Jackson and guys like Hollywood Brown, they have the big play capability. But I do like that angle here, and I could see it happening. I definitely could see it happening. So for that, I lean with the Colts. I do not have a strong prediction on this total.
Yeah, so I think that I lean under here. I think it's going to be a run-heavy game on both sides. I think that both teams they're just going to have more success running the ball than they are passing the ball. It's like what we saw with the Broncos against the Ravens last week. That's the way that they were the most successful.
It's going to be your traditional, hey, run on first down.
Mm-hmm.
Second down could be a runner pass, and then third down, if it's third and long, we're passing it. Third and short, we're running.
Yeah, and
it kind
of
feels like that game.
Yeah, and if it's not runs, it's going to be shorter passing plays, right? The Colts are going to look to get Nyheim Hines involved, which is good for moving the chains, but it's also good for grinding clock. And the tight ends and Pascal are going to be involved for the Colts as well. Yeah. And again, that's not explosive plays. That's running clock.
Yeah.
And
Hines really needs to catch up after last game. That's for sure.
And then on the Ravens side of things, what we haven't talked about yet is all of this 100-yard rushing game record controversy. I love the little spat that the coaches had in the press last week.
That was fun.
It was. I think John Harbaugh
little gamesmanship
made him look a little silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're throwing the ball into the end zone one play earlier. I didn't know you could score 16.
Yeah.
Is that Rango behind you?
Oh yeah, Rango's pumped. He needs 20 points from Lamar Jackson tonight in his fantasy league. So
yeah, he's a secret Ravens fan.
There we go.
But yeah, so I think that because of that, I mean, it's on the one hand, it's a little bit of a silly thing, but on the other hand, I do think that the Ravens are going to look to run the ball early and often today. And again, what that does is that grinds clock. So
And Nick, both these teams, it's funny, I already mentioned the Ravens with time of possession, but Colts, if you look back the last year or two, both teams love to control the clock. So maybe it gets into like a pissing match with that where you're like, hey, whatever. If you're on the under, you're like, this is great. Drain that clock, both sides.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that this ends up as like a maybe I basically I guess what the model says. Call it like a 24-20 game. 24-21.
Yeah, 24-20. I could also see like a 24-17. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, or yeah, something in that range. I think is where this ends up. So thoughts on over 3.5 field goals? I think that. I mean,
That's
maybe.
It's probably already juiced in the right way, though. I mean,
I don't understand how to handicap. I mean, I do, but I haven't looked at it at all.
You definitely could. It's just
we actually had something like that. I think as one of our best bets for a primetime game last year,
and it hit too. By the way, I remember. It was like 4.5, I think, or 3.5, and it hit by maybe it was 3.5 hit and it hit 5,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was because both teams had the top 2 red zone defenses, so we were basically like they're gonna move the ball, but not good enough. So.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit early in the year to really look at stats like that, so I have no idea.
Nick, if it was 6.5, I think I would be on Ravens.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this crossing the key number makes a difference. I agree. I was going to touch on that comment next. And thank you, Young Hefe, for the follow. Appreciate that.
Young Hefe.
So you ready to hop into the player prop market?
I have some interesting angles here. I
Do ya?
did a deep dive today.
That's
and
good.
It wasn't in my swimming pool.
All right. So give me 1 second here. I need to fix something.
What's going on with my screen?
With where your camera is. So I changed something so that I could have access to Discord while we're on stream. And doing that.
Moving?
No. And what happened is that if I don't have your camera up, like the stream up, then you freeze.
Gotcha.
So I'm gonna go back to the way it was. I'm Xing out of you. Ben has disappeared. I am going to now. Nobody can see it, but I'm pulling Ben up full screen. Changing the input source
Nick, I have
For
a quick
Ben?
question.
Yeah.
This simulation score, it kind of feels like one of those where, and maybe I'm off on this, I'm speculating, but it feels like one of those where there wouldn't be a lot of like crazy variance.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of run plays, right?
Yeah.
And those are, I would say, more consistent than passes, right? If we're dealing with like a Chiefs Bills game,
yeah.
like we saw last night, you're looking at a
All
lot
those.
of down the field passes. And if you connect on 2 of those as opposed to missing on 2 of those, I mean, that could be a 14-point swing in one direction or the other. And that'll break a spread and that'll break a total.
Yeah, and 2 above average defenses too, I would say.
Yeah, I think with running plays, you're a lot less likely to have home run type plays like that. And I think that's also why the model's been so good with the Ravens this year. I mean, if you exclude the Broncos game last week, all 3 of the first weeks, it was within 2 points on the exact correct spread.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point. So let's talk about these props though.
Yeah, so let's move to the passing props market first. So we've got pretty low numbers here, which again, not so surprising. Carson Wentz over under 227.5. Lamar Jackson over under 230.5. So Ben, why don't you start us off here?
So I think we alluded to it. Colts aren't really a deep passing team. They're not going to take crazy shots. They're really not built that way. I mean, Michael Pittman, he's more a possession receiver. He'll break some tackles, but they don't really have like a speedster, I would say, that they've really been targeting. So that makes me inclined to kind of lean with this under. And I know a few people I've seen say, well, I like the over because Colts are going to be down, right? But if you really think about it, unless the Colts are down 14 points in the fourth quarter or down 7 with about 3 minutes left, then I think you would see that, because this is a team that they're not going to go off of what they do unless they really, really have to, right? With the run game and kind of that slow offense they like to run. So that's my 2 cents with Carson Wentz. I have to lean under here.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I, of course, had a couple tabs that I wanted, but I closed out accidentally before starting the stream.
I do that all the time.
But so here is quarterback stats for the year. So against the Ravens, we've seen 2 quarterbacks go well over this number and 2 quarterbacks go under this number. So in week 1, Derek Carr, 435. Clearly over. Chiefs, week 2, Patrick Mahomes, 343. Also well over this number. But the last 2 weeks, Jared Goff, 217. And then the 2 Broncos quarterbacks combined for 178. So we've seen 2 overs, 2 unders. Not a lot of it particularly close. I guess Goff was within 20 yards, but that was it. What I think is interesting, though, is looking at how the Colts, or how Carson Wentz specifically, I guess, has done against other teams. So in week 1, the Colts played the Seahawks. Carson Wentz threw for 251 yards against the Seahawks. That's the fewest passing yards that the Seahawks have allowed this year, by 75 yards. Week 2, the Colts played the Rams. Carson Wentz threw for 272 against the Rams. That is, I guess, middle of the pack for them on the season out of 5 games. In week 3, they played the Titans. Carson Wentz threw for 194 against the Titans. That's the fewest passing yards the Titans have allowed by more than 75 yards all season in 5 games. And then week 4, they played the Dolphins. Carson Wentz threw for 228. They allowed only 179 to the Bills because they lost that game 40-0. But aside from that, that is, again, by far the fewest passing yards that a team has allowed. So, long story short, what we're seeing is that Carson Wentz and the Colts passing attack comes in bottom of the barrel, passing yardage-wise, against all these other teams. Considering the fact that the Ravens have already allowed against Detroit and against Denver a 217 and a 178. Even if he's middle of the pack, I think 227 is right around the upside for Carson Wentz. And I think that despite the model having him more in that 250 range, I think that's taking into account the fact that there's going to be some more passes than they're actually going to throw. I like the Wentz under as well. I think he ends up in like the 210 range, I'll say.
Okay, so I have a question here. I like the under, like I mentioned. I also was looking at the, let's see here. It was the not completions, attempts.
The attempts. Yeah.
Under 33.5.
Under 33.5. So I actually don't really like that one. I just think that the margins are so fine there.
Yeah.
So the Ravens have actually allowed 30-plus pass attempts in all 4 games this year.
I understand that, but, I mean, look who they were going up against, right?
Yeah. I mean, so they allowed 56 to the Raiders.
Yeah.
31 to the Chiefs, 30 to Jared Goff and the Lions, and 37 last week combined between the 2 quarterbacks and the Broncos.
Yeah. It just seems like one of these games that, if I'm looking at game script, I really think that the Colts just are not going to pass the ball a lot, and if they are down, they may be in a position where they just don't see the ball a lot. So that would at least be my lean for under 33.5.
Yeah, I will say I think if I had to give it an exact number, that number would be under 33.5. But I think the margins are so fine that I wouldn't want to bet on the under. I'd probably put him at 31. But again, the Ravens have allowed 30-plus pass attempts all 4 weeks, and Wentz has thrown the ball 30-plus times all 4 games so far.
Yeah. Okay.
Lamar Jackson passing the ball. Over under 230.5.
Keith has a take.
Yeah, Keith has a very hot take. Lamar Jackson under 200 yards passing plus 600.
Oh wow! You know what? I kind of dig the alternate spreads if there's some thinking behind it, but I'm not sure about this one.
If there's some thinking behind it.
Yeah,
I'm assuming Keith has some thinking behind this one.
No, he has this hit 12 out of his last 17 starts.
Yeah, 12 of 17 last season.
That is last season.
Yeah, so the Ravens have been much more inclined to pass the ball this year. I think part of that is due to the fact that they've been dealing with so many injuries at running back. Like the J.K. Dobbins is out, Mark Ingram is on the Texans now, Gus Edwards is hurt, Justice Hill is hurt. Like that's their entire running back crew from last year.
Yep,
is all out. So I do think that it's not just a coincidence that the Ravens are passing the ball more this year.
And he's not looking bad passing the ball.
No, for a running back, he does a great job.
He does, yeah. So it's not like he's thrown into the fire like, hey, you got to pass the ball more and just cross our fingers. So I think, like you said, I think that partly has something to do with that.
Yeah. I do think, like I've been saying, it is going to be a more run-heavy script for Baltimore today. But I don't know if I want to go 200. Although plus 600 is very juicy.
And that's 300 yards. Or, sorry, 30 yards off the actual number, you would say. So.
Yeah, velocity. I was joking about Lamar. It's a common joke.
Joking.
Maybe he might be joking.
Yeah.
But if he's not, it's a common joke that Lamar Jackson is just a running back who plays quarterback.
Yeah. I would lean over here. Actually, if it's at minus 130, I would lean under.
Yeah, that actually is probably just different depending on the books. I forgot to pull up.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Other books. Let me pull it up in some other spots.
Just seems like
it's a very points bet thing to do.
It is.
So on Superbook, Lamar it's what's up here. You can't see it because of the different crops, but it's at 234.5 over under, minus 115 both ways. And I'm gonna pull up DraftKings as well. See where they're at. Also, let's check out Wentz on Superbook. Wentz is at 228.5, plus minus 115 both ways.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
DraftKings has Lamar with has both of these actually same exact lines as Superbook does.
Yeah, that's all I have there.
Yeah, I don't really want to touch. I don't want to touch Lamar. So, rushing props. We've got, as always, a lot of guys. Also, I need to check the injury news here. But on the Ravens side, we have Devontae Freeman over under 9.5. Lamar Jackson over under 65.5. Latavius Murray over under 49.5. Tyson Williams over under 25.5. And I'm assuming Williams is actually playing this week.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has a number. Highway Ranger, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tyson Williams is active. Le'Veon Bell is inactive this week.
These numbers are, they all seem a little inflated, but at the same time, if Ravens just run the ball, run the ball.
Run
these.
the ball.
I can see these hitting.
Gently down
What are your
the field.
thoughts?
My thoughts is, I mean, kind of the same as yours. They all feel just a little high. But that's just kind of the way that it works with the Ravens. Mm-hmm. You're never going to get Lamar Jackson rushing yards at like 45. It's always going to be 63 or 65 or whatever. And the lead back is, I mean, he's going to get a lot of carries. Everybody's going to get a lot of carries. They've run for 100 yards 43 straight times as a team. Like, these numbers have to be high. And yeah, like they've got the record at stake, and it's not just any record; it's a record that the Steelers have held since the 70s. It is certainly going to be a point of emphasis in the game plan to make sure that they hit 100 yards.
That's actually kind of funny, but you make a good point there.
Yeah, I mean, they if it wasn't going to be a point of emphasis today, they would not have had a 5-yard quarterback sneak as time expired last week to tie the record.
Yep.
So I don't particularly. It's hard a little bit, I think, to tell exactly how the carries are going to get distributed.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lamar's number, especially, is a little high, even relative to the others at 65.5. I think that a more run-heavy game script is better for the running back rushing yard props as opposed to Lamar's.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, there certainly will be designed runs for Lamar, but a lot of his runs do come on him getting out of the pocket on passing plays. So less passing plays just means less of that. So if I had to pick one of these, I'd probably take Murray at 49.5. I mean, he's the number one back. He's going to be the guy who gets the ball the most out of the backfield. And I think if the Ravens break 100 yards total rushing the ball, I think Murray breaks 50. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I don't have too strong of a lean on any of these Ravens running backs or Lamar. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to do that.
Yes, you did. I'm on to you.
I do have some angles on. Well, actually for receiving, but we'll get to the Colts running backs here.
You're ready to skip all the way ahead to Colts receiving props?
Basically.
And yeah, as far as the Murray rush attempts are concerned, I probably do like the over 12.5, but don't wanna touch it. Mm-hmm. All right, so Colts running the ball. Carson Wentz over under 13.5. Jonathan Taylor over under 59.5. Marlon Mack over under 12.5. Nyheim Hines over under 14.5.
So this is really interesting to me because Jonathan Taylor's rushing attempts is only at 12.5, which that's probably where the number should be. It's a fair number, but that also doesn't make me feel great about touching Taylor's over prop here, right? I mean, if he gets 12, he's got to be close to 5 yards per carry.
Yeah, I mean, but that kind of is where he is for his career at this point.
Yeah, that's true. It's just interesting they're not feeding him more.
Yeah, I think part of that is due to the fact that they get behind so much. Mm-hmm.
But even last week, right?
Yeah. Well, he had 16 carries last week.
He did have 16.
But they also gave Marlon Mack 10 carries last week.
Yeah, exactly. If 16 is a ceiling, then, I don't know. But Mack, yeah, return to the Mack is back.
But is he back?
I don't know. He's back, but I don't know about back.
Yeah, Mack is back, but not back.
Yeah, he's not back. But this seems like one of those that if you play the over for Taylor, Marlon Mack goes off, and then all of a sudden, because it was the Colts. They did that last year, right? Where like Hines had like a 30-yard run, and then they're like, yeah, we're just gonna keep Hines in. Mm-hmm. Same offensive coordinator, I believe.
Yeah. So I actually am thinking that this Mack number shouldn't
over?
No, under. So Mack, he's got carries the last couple of weeks, but he hasn't been like effective at all. 15 carries for 38 yards on the year. That's like barely 3 yards per carry. Mm-hmm. And if this is a game that we think that the Colts are going to be more passing as opposed to running, that's a Nyheim Hines game, not a Marlon Mack game, as the guy who comes in as the number 2 behind Taylor.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bet it, but I do lean this under for Marlon Mack. It just feels like a spot where the backup running back that has Mack's role it's just not going to have a lot of action today.
So you would say Hines you would lean over there for his rushing at 14.5?
For Hines rushing,
slightly.
I don't want to touch Hines rushing just at all.
Yeah.
But I think with Mack, I lean under.
Also, I made a Hines catch-up joke earlier, and I don't think anyone caught it.
I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
It was that good. It was that precise.
It's pretty good. It's on video. These videos are all saved. So there you go. But yeah, as far as these, I mean, I do lean Taylor over, but I can't touch that. It's too high of a number based on the amount of carries he's projected to get. So
I agree. All right, so receiving props. I'm gonna we'll do the Colts first, since you have a guy on the Colts that you want to talk about.
I got someone on the Colts I like.
We have former Raven Jack Doyle over under 20.5.
Revenge game. We should just start tracking that for every quote unquote revenge game spot, and just to see how they do. It'd be pretty funny.
We've got Doyle over under 20.5. Jonathan Taylor over under 13.5. Michael Pitman Jr. over under 54.5. Mo Alley Cox over under 15.5. Nyheim Hines over under 21.5. Paris Campbell over under 23.5. Zach Pascal over under 37.5. So who's the guy that you're looking at?
Wait, did we say Hines, or is he not on DraftKings?
No, we said Hines. 21.5.
Well, 21.5. Well, that's the play I like. I like his over there. So here's my biggest angle on this one. Part of it, Nick mentioned already that this could turn into Colts trailing, and Hines is going to see a significant amount of snaps. But another thing that I found doing a little research today is backs, when they're targeted out of the backfield, have done pretty well receiving, but it's only happened once this season, and that was with the Lions. And I think Swift had, was it 70 or 80 receiving yards, I believe?
We're talking backs against the Ravens?
Yes.
So Kenyon Drake in week 1, 5 catches on 5 targets for 69 yards. Alec Ingold, their fullback, also had 4 catches for 22 yards.
Yeah.
Week 2, not much from the Chiefs.
But see, week 2, I don't even think they attempted one to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't believe he.
Hilaire had no targets. Darrell Williams also had no targets. Michael Burton and Jerick McKinnon each had 1 catch on 1 target.
Yeah.
Week 3, DeAndre Swift, 7 catches on 7 targets for 60 yards. Jamal Williams, 2 on 2 for 25. And then the Broncos last week, Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams combined 5 catches on 7 targets for 22 yards. But yeah. I'm with you. I think that teams have success passing the ball to their backs against the Ravens.
Yeah, and I think the Broncos, if they were smart enough, they would have put Williams in more of those situations, but we have offensive coordinator with Shermer, who I don't think is a great offensive coordinator. So I think a team like the Colts, it fits them well with Hines already, so they're not forcing anything. And I think you're going to see Hines. He's going to see around 45%, maybe even 50% of the snaps, which would be a little above his average. And I think he's going to get plenty of targets. So yeah, this is probably my strongest play of the night, is that over 21.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I think that's a great play.
Thank you.
That's one I was looking at also.
Yeah.
As far as other guys on the Colts are concerned, Keith says homecoming game for Zach Pascal.
Oh, yep. We got the homecoming. We got the revenge narrative.
Uh-huh.
So we got to start tracking these.
Yeah, I mean, where are these other guys from?
we should.
Mo Alley Cox went to VCU. That's not super close to Baltimore.
On Sundays, we should just put in like the revenge play of the day. Because there's always going to be at least one or two. I mean, there's almost one a game. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention one thing about Michael Pitman Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I know Marlon Humphrey will be all over him, but he is such a possession receiver that I almost am considering his over for receptions. I didn't even look at it. Is it? It's got to be 4. I bet it's 4.5.
Yeah, 4.5.
It is. Yeah, interesting. But I'm staying away.
Yeah, I agree. And I think overall, all of these passing yard props on both sides are things that I kind of want to avoid. Mm-hmm. It's low. We're expecting low passing yard numbers, and there's a lot of guys who are catching passes. I mean, there was a ton for the Colts on the Ravens side. We're looking at Devin Duvernay in the slot over under 9.5. Latavius Murray out of the backfield over under 2.5. Mark Andrews 51.5. Marquise Brown 57.5. Miles Boykin, who's playing this week for the first time.
Yeah. So Nick,
10.5.
I wanted to talk about Miles Boykin because I did a deep dive on him and how he kind of fits into this offense. And the guys who saw the biggest drop, right, were Devin Duvernay from last year when he was in the lineup. Obviously, there's just not enough snaps to go around.
Yeah, I mean, and they kind of compete with each other for the same position.
But both of these numbers, they're just so low where, I mean, Duvernay could get one catch and he hits his number. So also, how much are they going to play Boykin? I
actually think Boykin is going to see quite a bit of playing time today. So the place
Okay.
where Boykin excels is run blocking. He's one of the best run blocking receivers in the entire league. Mm-hmm. So I think that him getting snaps actually fits in quite well with the narrative that we're looking at for this game, with the Ravens really trying to have a run first approach to the game.
And at some point, they'll have to throw the ball with him in there. I mean, it's too obvious if
Yeah.
Miles Boykin just runs out there and they're like, "Oh, it's a run play," and then they're like, "Oh, here comes Duvernay." And yeah, that's not quite how it works. Obviously, you know this. What about Sammy Watkins?
So Sammy Watkins, I'm just going to read the rest of these numbers. So Patrick Ricard, he's actually another one that I think is kind of interesting. It's sitting at 1.5. Patrick Ricard is the fullback. For anybody who doesn't know,
It's going to be a fake handoff, little rollout, boop.
but yeah, I mean him being out there, if it's a more run heavy approach, play action to Ricard makes a lot of sense, I think. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy who's not allergic to catching the ball. Like he's gone over this number twice already this year. He's got 3 catches, and he's got in his career 24 receptions. For a guy who has kind of just started playing fullback, he's actually a defensive tackle by trade. Mm-hmm. So he gets snaps both on the defensive line and at fullback.
So would sorry to go back to Watkins.
Yeah, Watkins 39.5.
Do you think? I mean, at some point, Boykin's back in the lineup has to hit Watkins just a tad. I mean, it's not like a direct. It's more that Stephen Duvernay, but that one is interesting.
Are you thinking about an under for Watkins?
I am, yeah. But I'm not going to bet it.
No, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Watkins is going to keep his role.
Who doesn't play D?
Oh yeah, Ricard hasn't played D in the last couple of years. Actually, I don't think
he did.
He did play defense.
I didn't even know that. Was he like a linebacker?
No, he's a defensive tackle. I was talking about that. You just don't listen to anything I say. You're just waiting for Sammy Watkins. I see how it is.
I zoned out there.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't
played in college.
Yeah, he hasn't played this year on defense, but he started 10 games. Oh wait, this is confusing. It says he's played. Hold on. Defense. Oh, yeah, he hasn't played any defensive snaps this year or last year. So I guess 2019 was the last year that he played defensive snaps. He played. He played
at Maine.
Yeah, he played 14% of the defensive snaps for the Ravens in 2019. In addition to playing 31% of the offensive snaps.
Wow.
But I guess he's converted to full-time fullback.
It's a guy I would not want to line up against.
No. But yeah, I think Ricard was a full-time defensive player in college. Mm-hmm. And the conversion to fullback has been a professional thing. But he's excelled. He's one of the best fullbacks in the league. Not that there's many fullbacks in the league at all. But
yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, I like fullbacks. Andy Janovich, he's a good one.
I mean, the Ravens are the best at developing them. I mean, they drafted Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah, Andy Janovich is with
indisputably the best in the league.
He's with the Browns now. He used to play with the Broncos.
But yeah, anyways, I don't really want to touch these Baltimore receiving totals. I think that the places to look if you're looking for overs would be kind of some of these secondary guys who just need a catch to hit their number. I think Boykin is a pretty good look, but again, it's risky because there is a lot of uncertainty about the snap count.
But hey, that's why you're getting a 10.5.
So. Exactly.
Duvernay though under.
I don't know. I don't want to play Duvernay under. Just because there is a lot of risk involved. Like if for whatever reason Boykin
Oh, it's 9.5.
only gets 10%
Did you
of
see
the
that?
snaps. Yeah, I saw it drop.
That's great. I love it.
Uh-huh.
He's gonna have one catch for 10 yards.
We
That's how it happens.
we lost out on the middle opportunity.
Yep. Yeah.
Damn.
Someone middling the. I got an 11. Oh, I got the 9. Just watching it for. God, that's a tough middle right there. I mean, because these refs, they could just spot the ball, casually 1 yard or 1/2 yard, but a half yard can mean, a 9 versus 10. Oh, it's back up to 10.5.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, that's that. Touchdown props.
Hey, I might have one.
Really?
Well, I have to see what it's at. I didn't even look.
Okay, well tell me who it is and tell me what number you want it at.
Okay, if it's Hines at 220, I like it.
Moment of truth. Nyheim Hines is at 260.
Ooh, I like it.
Why do you like Nyheim Hines?
I just think he's going to be on the field a lot tonight. First touchdown score, 16-1. Let's go.
So Nyheim Hines has 2 touchdowns this year. Both of them came in the same game. He had a rushing touchdown and a punt return touchdown.
Hey, that counts.
Oh, no, never mind. This is just total touchdowns. So he's only had 1 touchdown this year.
But that would count, though, right?
Yeah, punt return touchdown would count.
Yeah.
In his career, Hines last year played all 16 games. Had 4 receiving touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns. The year before, played all 16 games, only had 2 touchdowns. I don't think he's a guy who scores a lot, which is probably
now.
True. We should have thought about that.
Well, depends who you ask, but Pascal, I guess one of the receivers for the Colts might get a touchdown because Pitman's going to be close to plus 140.
Pittman is plus 210. Remember, this
wow.
is going to be a low scoring game, right?
Yeah, that is interesting.
So if
there's not going to be a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, team total for the Colts is 19.5. That's 2 touchdowns.
Two touchdowns, and 2 field goals maybe.
Yeah, it's 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals.
What's Wentz at?
Wentz to score a touchdown is at 450.
Colts defense. One of these days I'll grow some balls and I'll play a defense touchdown. Not tonight, though.
No, tonight's not the night.
Tonight is not night for that.
But yeah, I think not a whole lot of value touchdown scorer-wise. Like always. So I guess that wraps up the prop discussion for the night. So Ben, what is going to be your favorite bet for today's game?
I'm going with Nyheim Hines over 21.5 receiving yards.
It's actually at 20.5 now.
All right, even better. So
even better,
Nyheim Hines over 20.5 receiving yards.
And
Don't play.
Dome play. We're gonna dome that one.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember what the word was. I forgot.
Yeah, me too. And then I'm like, oh, it was dome.
It was dome. Yeah. I'm gonna go with Latavius Murray over 48.5 rushing yards. I think that the Ravens are gonna have a run first attack. Murray's the number 1 guy in the backfield. I think he gets enough carries, even if he's not super efficient, to hit this 48.5.
I like it.
Yeah, and there you have it. I got to head out pretty soon. Got a fantasy hockey draft to attend.
Oh, wow.
Starts
Better draft a bunch of abs players.
Yeah.
You gonna have the game on there?
Yeah. I've got plenty of screens.
Yeah, I was gonna say one way or another. Oh, sorry. You made it sound like you were physically leaving.
Oh,
To
no. Most of the people that I'm drafting with live in Virginia.
Okay, that wouldn't make a lot of sense.
No, it would not. But yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, well, best of luck with the draft. Best of luck with the Ravens, and best of luck, everyone, to your bets.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank you again to everybody, all of the new follows, and to T Cherry for the 7-month resub.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you later this week. See you guys.
Zip.